Hello and welcome to the 25th edition of the PEM podcast, PEM, Psychic Eye Mystery Podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Laurie, here with my schmabulous sister, Sandy. I got to come up with another word. I always call you schmabulous or fabulous because you are. You're smashingly fabulous.
Why don't you just say that? Smashing
because it's
fabulous.
I
know, right? Oh, now I know.
Did my dick is fabulous. I can do that the next one, Sam. Podcast number 26. That's what I'll do.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Fabulous. I'll do it with a lateral lisp or something. Anyway, so glad that I always look forward to Wednesdays or Thursdays. We did not record yesterday, not to date the podcast, but I think Sandy and I both needed a second to just gather ourselves after the Uvalde school shooting, and I'm still a little shaken by it. So that's why we're recording on a Thursday rather than on a Wednesday. But I always look forward to getting to see you and interact with you, and you getting my goat. And you wouldn't think I would be looking forward to that, but I think it's funny. So yeah. So all good. All right. So we've got a kind of a jam-packed show today. Let's start out with book promotion. So we're going in order now. The second book in the Psychic Eye Mystery series is called Better Than Dead. I can't remember if I don't think I came up with this title. I remember it was so clever, so it probably wasn't me. Sandy's in agreement. Probably wasn't you, bitch. Anyway, so in this book, Abby is roped into doing an event at a wedding, a Greek wedding, with a really dear friend of hers. I think I named him Kevin because the story came from my mentor, Kevin Allen, who was one of the arguably best psychics that has ever lived. He was really remarkable and amazing, and I had loved and adored him, and I miss him very much. But anyway, so he gave me the impetus of this book. So basically what happens is Abby and Kevin go to this Greek wedding, and a hitman comes and sits down in front of Abby, and she realizes that she's reading for a hitman, and leaves the wedding. And she has so impressed.
Well, you in trouble now.
I know, right? Yeah, for sure, Whoopi. Yes. So she leaves the wedding rather hastily, but she is so impressed the father of the bride that he ropes her into trying to find out what happened to his wife. His wife went missing, disappeared a couple decades before, and he wants her to go find his wife. And in the meantime, she is pretty much convinced that her love interest is having an affair with someone else, and it's the whole, misunderstanding going on. So yeah, this was the book I would have written first if I could have written something double the length. It all would have been kind of rolled into one, but that was frowned upon at the time. So and probably still would be. So I broke it out into two books. So Abby Cooper Psychic Eye is the first book, and then Better Than Dead is the second book. In my mind, they're kind of almost one story. So
I will say I've read that particular book 3 times now, and every time I read it, I enjoy it thoroughly. It's my favorite book that you've written.
Really?
Hands down. Yeah. Because it's such a page turner. It's a heart racing, on the edge of your seat.
Because and Kat comes in, right? And that's one where Kat comes in, and there's a whole thing going on with Kat because it's a rapist, right? There's a rapist. Forgot about that, guys. There's also a rapist that's plaguing the area. Yeah. Remember, Kat comes to visit. She brings Abby all the shopping bags, and there's a rapist that's a part of all of this. Women are dying. It's a big plot. So yeah, it is. It's very fast paced. There's a lot going on.
And it's a really fun ride, and a lot of twists and turns that you do not see coming, so I really like. It's one of my favorite Abby Coopers.
Thank you, honey.
It is my favorite Abby Cooper.
we need to like start putting ribbons on the cover of the books, you know, like
Sandy's,
this is
Abby
Sandy's
Cooper
favorite.
favorite. Yeah.
This is Sandy's second favorite. This is Sandy's third favorite. What an honor. What an honor. So yeah, Better Read Than Dead, sold everywhere books are sold. And yeah, that's it. We have a very personal anecdote today. I'm not going to talk about a client anecdote. This is something that was really special and really heartfelt. I will say that that happened to me this week via news that Sandy got. So Sandy has a dear friend named Susan, and we have known Susan since we were wee little tots. I don't remember when we were first introduced to Susan and her family, but it was a long time ago. And Susan has a sister who was also very close in my age. And Sandy has obviously not only just kept in touch with Susan over the years, she's remained very close. Annie and I were never really very close. Like I liked her, but we went off and lived separate lives. Anyway, tragically, sadly, a few months ago, Annie was diagnosed with
Yes. 2 months ago, diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
And they had thought originally that they caught it early, and then they decided they had not. They had actually caught it very late. And poor sweet Annie passed away a few days ago. So I'm out on the running trail. I get a couple of bings on my watch, and I never look at text because if I do, I'll stop and then respond. So I just, okay, I'll pay attention to that when I stop. So I finish the run. I look at my watch, and it's a note from Sands, and she's letting me know that Annie has passed away the day before. And I sent up a text, you know, that's so sad, you know, I'm so sorry. And then finished that text and looked up. I looked up I'm going to have to share screen here just a second. Looked up to send Annie a prayer. And as I'm looking up, so you can see on your screen, for those of you who can't see on your screen, there's a big bird. It actually happens to be a blue crane. They're fairly rare, but they are pretty plentiful where I live. There are some pretty good populations of them. So completely cloudy day, not a break in the clouds at all, totally 100% overcast. As I look up to send Annie a prayer, this blue heron starts flying at me. And I'm like, what is that bird doing? I mean, they're big. They're like over 3 feet tall. You can look at them in the eye. They're very tall herrings, very tall cranes kind of looking birds. So this thing is flying at me. It's low over the road coming at me. And I'm just standing there. And then I'm like, oh, well, get a picture of it, right? As it's flying at me. So I'm trying to pull up my camera app, and I'm looking for it through my camera, can't find it in the screen. And I finally find it just as it comes into focus. The clouds open up and a beam of sunlight hits that bird, right?
Looks like a pterodactyl.
Well, at first I kind of thought it looked like a dove, you know, like it just kind of reminded me of a dove. And so I believe I text you? I texted you the picture, and I'm like, this is a sign from Annie letting us know that she's okay. So tell Susan that Annie's symbol is blue herrings,
Yes.
or herrings or storks or cranes. Let her know that that's her symbol. And you know, she's letting us know that she's okay. She's made it to the other side. I get in my car. I drive home. I pass a house that I pass. Stop, Sandy. I pass a house that I pass every single day to get to my loft. And something has changed in the garden. And in the garden is a statue of a blue crane. This was brand new, was not there the day before. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So I backed up and I took a picture of it. I'm like, wow, that's really kind of amazing. And then a day or two later, I hop on Instagram, and the very first post I see is from a site that I follow about animals. And it's this woman who is crouched down, and out of an opening comes a shoebill stork, right? And this is not the Instagram photo. I forgot to upload that, but go with me on this, okay? So it's a shoebill stork, and they are blue. They are literally blue, and they have really, really long legs, and they are super intimidating. So he's kind of like pecking at her, and I'm like, I can't believe this is the very second post that I pull up just randomly, right? And then the next morning, I'm on Twitter, and someone has posted something very clever, and I want to retweet it. And so I'm about to hit the retweet button when I notice that his avatar is this shoebill stork. So it's I love that it's like, no, really, it's me. I'm okay. No, yeah, it's me. I'm okay. Tell my sister I'm okay. So it's all of these boom, 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 little instances. I can't tell you when, like, I've noticed a stork, a herring, nothing, right? Like, I might have thought, oh, that's cute, that's funny, but it just wouldn't have registered. So in the span of 2 days, to get all of these kind of bombarded with all of these storks, cranes, herrings, was really kind of delightful. So what I wanted to do, since I'm sure Annie is listening, I'm rather positive Annie is listening, is I want to kind of ask anybody who's listening to this in the next couple of days or so, if you see anything that has to do with storks or herrings that's a little out of place, don't go looking for it, guys. Don't go looking for it. Send a prayer up to Annie and say, hey, Annie, if you want to show me a stork, a herring, or whatever, go for it. Okay. And then comment below and let us know what you saw. If you're able to post a picture, please do. Okay. I want to see if, like, Annie's got the power. If she can, like, send that out into the universe. And we'll see who can come up with an instance that's kind of out of place. Kind of like, made you stop and go, And while you're there, don't forget to hit the like button and the bell, subscribe. And what's the other one?
Ring the bell.
Ring the
or
bell,
subscribe.
and hit the like button.
Right.
Yeah. So while you're there, just do that. Piece of cake. Yeah. So that's our anecdote for today. I personally have not reached out to Annie yet. I have a feeling that she is gathered amongst loved ones and is having a beautiful reunion. At some point, I probably will reach out to her just to say hello and pass on any messages she wants to give me to her sister. But I think she was having a lot of fun putting storks, and you know what's so interesting to me too, Sans, is like had kind of mentioned this. Annie was tall.
Yeah,
she was tall, and she had very long legs.
Yes.
So I just thought that was funny that she picked, she picked a bird with the legs, right, the long legs, because she had a gorgeous set of gams. So I just thought that was really clever of her.
Yeah. No mistaking.
Right? Yeah, that's her bird. So anyway, okay. My portion is done for the moment. Sandy's got it. We have a good case today. And I really wanted to do it because A, it was interesting, and B, it took place at MSU, which was my alma mater. So I spent my freshman year at MSU. So I was really interested in the story. And then full circle, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later. I'll tell you when Sandy hands it over to me. So you just wait for it. Wait till the end. All right, Sands, take it away.
Your setups are so invigorating. Wait till the end.
That's when the interesting part, and
Right.
I come back
Skip
in.
over this. Okay,
right.
so this is about the disappearance of Henry Louis Baltimore Jr. On January 16th, 1952, Henry Louis Baltimore Jr. became the firstborn son of Doris and Henry L. Baltimore Sr. He was the second oldest among 8 children in this very tight-knit family. And following his graduation from Parkside High School in Jackson, Michigan, Henry followed in his older sister Laurel's footsteps and enrolled at Michigan State University, where Laurel was pursuing her master's degree. Henry thrived at MSU as a social sciences major and worked in the school library to help fund his college career. An honor student with a passion for music, Henry also had the distinctive role of being the university's first African-American co-drum major at the University University's 215-piece marching band. Upon graduation, Henry had plans to fuse his musical talents with his desire to help others and become a social worker. For his junior year, Henry lived with 3 roommates, George Heath and Paul Lott Jr., both of Jackson, Michigan, and Tony Ransom of Detroit, Michigan, who was also a Michigan State University football player. All of these gentlemen lived in an off-campus apartment in the 300 block of Oak Hill Avenue in East Lansing. On March 3rd, 1973, while alone in his apartment, the 6'2", 175-pound Henry was surprised by 2 intruders who violently assaulted him during a break-in. Henry was tied to a bed, pistol whipped, and robbed of $110 in cash. A golf bag, a watch, and some clothing were also taken. Terrified as a result, Henry waited 10 days to report the crime and only did so at the urging of his father. One suspect, 22-year-old Roy L. Davis of Flint, Michigan, was subsequently arrested and charged with the armed robbery. The other assailant, an unnamed accomplice, remained at large. Prosecutors arranged for Henry to appear at Davis's preliminary examination to provide a statement about the robbery incident. But shortly before the hearing on May 24th, one of Henry's roommates claimed that Davis had shown up at their apartment and threatened to kill Henry if he testified. When Henry failed to show up at the East Lansing's 54th District Court to testify against Davis at the preliminary examination, the presiding judge fined Henry $50 and issued a warrant for his arrest. 2 days later, Henry resurfaced, paid the $50 fine, and met with the police and the prosecutor to beg them to drop all charges against Roy Davis. Despite telling the police that he had been threatened by Davis and feared for his life, the prosecutor refused Henry's request. Believing that he did not have any other option, Henry provided his testimony and Davis was bound over to Ingham County Circuit Court for arraignment on June 1st. By then, Henry had disappeared, as the last time Henry was seen alive by those that knew and loved him was on May 30th. On that day, Henry's sister Laurel stopped by his apartment to pick up a draft of a final exam she'd agreed to type up for him, but Henry wasn't home. Laurel noticed that Henry's car, a 1968 Buick, was parked in the lot, and his keys, money, clothes, and other belongings were all in their place at the apartment. Laurel learned from Henry's roommates that Henry had gone to the library about an hour and a half prior to her arrival. Laurel left and then called Henry several times, hoping to reach him, but with each call, she learned that Henry had still not returned. After the due date for Henry's paper had come and gone, and Laurel had not heard from her brother, she became alarmed and contacted their father, who in turn went to the police. At first, the police thought Henry had gone into hiding because he felt so threatened by the pending criminal case against Davis. The pressure of the court case may have been too much for him to take, said his younger brother, Lonnie. He was home for the weekend before the Memorial Day, and he said he needed to get someplace by himself to get away from that apartment. By June 5th, the East Lansing police issued a teletype stating that Henry's disappearance was suspicious and that foul play was suspected. During their investigation, police interviewed a neighbor who reported seeing Davis and another man knocking on Henry's door the day he vanished. However, Davis denied any involvement and provided an alibi for his whereabouts on May 30th, which was backed by his mother. Although Davis was considered a person of interest, he was never charged in connection with Henry's disappearance. In the fall of 1973, Davis pleaded guilty to felonious assault with the intent to commit robbery and was sentenced to 6 months in the Ingham County Jail. He served all of 6 weeks. Prosecutors offered a plea bargain, and partly because Henry could not be found to testify at Davis's trial. The idea that Henry had gone into hiding became less and less likely after Davis's court case ended. Convinced that Henry would never leave without telling someone in his family feared the worst. Lonnie, who was then 17 at the time that Henry vanished, tried to investigate what might have happened to his older brother, who he idolized. He theorized that Davis may have had a connection to a Baltimore family connection who also lived in Flint, Michigan, and like Davis, had previous brushes with the law. If Henry didn't leave on his own and they came back and took him away, well, they know how to get rid of people in Flint, so you never find them, Lonnie said. For nearly 50 years, the remaining Baltimore family members continued to seek answers about their beloved's disappearance. Henry Baltimore Sr. died in 1990, and his wife Doris followed in 2014. Moreover, 2 of their sons have also since died without any answers. Henry Baltimore's disappearance is the East Lansing Police Department's oldest cold case. It's still an open case, says Chief Tom Wilbert, and he said missing persons cases aren't unusual, but we usually find something. This is highly unusual because there's nothing for this long. There's no evidence of anything. He just disappeared. Police have Henry's dental records, and in 2006, the family submitted DNA for a profile of Henry that's been put on the FBI's National Missing Persons Database. To this day, no one knows what's happened to poor Henry. My sources for this story include Mark Hoover, The Disappearance of MSU Student Henry Louis Baltimore Jr., The Claremont Sun, February 24th, 2021, The Charlie Project, which was updated on 8/7/20, and Michigan Live, Peek Through Time more than 30 years later, Henry L. Baltimore's disappearance is still a mystery by Leanne Smith, May 29, 2010, and updated on January 21st, 2019. So any ideas what might have
Such a
happened to
sad
Henry?
case. Yeah,
it
such a
is.
sad case. This was, I think, the hardest case that I have seen so far as trying to pull energy out of it, which was kind of telling. Because my immediate thought, the dog today, just all over the place. Sorry about that, people. Anyway, my immediate thought was, because I just couldn't pick up the violence associated with his disappearance, was that he was not kidnapped, he was not murdered, but that he took his own life. That was my immediate thought. So I didn't want to, put that out there without like pushing myself a little bit. So I kept rereading the case going, what makes more sense? What makes more sense? And for me, so when I was in my freshman year at MSU, I was suffering terrifically from a terrible case of depression. And I was not on any antidepressants at that time. And I had a moment that was just, I was really, really lost. It was really, really hard. I was away from everything that was familiar. I wasn't fitting in. I didn't like the campus. I didn't like any of my professors. And I went to a bridge and I sat there for about 2 hours trying to talk myself into not jumping. I really just wanted to fall forward and lights out. And it took about 2 hours and I talked myself out of it and went back to my dorm, and I got through the rest of the year and got through the rest of my life, and blah, 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 all is well. But when I was tuning in on the case, that image of staring down at the rocky kind of bottom from that bridge just would not leave my mind. And that's kind of why I kept thinking, damn it, I think he took his life. So he was pistol whipped, and he was robbed, and he was probably terrorized both during the robbery and then subsequently later when he was about to give testimony, right, with this from this Davis dude. And I have a feeling that with the pistol whipping, he probably suffered a pretty severe concussion. And we do know that brain injuries like concussions can absolutely have a side effect of causing depression. Reading about his actions leading up to his disappearance kind of continued to kind of reinforce my idea that he was a bit on the despondent side. He was worried that he was kind of boxed in and didn't have anywhere to go. And I have a feeling that Davis probably also threatened his family, not just him. They probably also threatened his family, not necessarily directly the family, but they threatened him about hurting or harming or killing members of his family. So I think what happened to poor Henry was he just left his house, may or may not have gone to the library to complete his shift, which is actually fairly close to the Cedar River, which runs right through MSU's campus. And there are several bridges that are above the Cedar River. And I have a feeling he just waited until it got dark. And then I think he took his life. I think he ended up in the river. And I hate to put yet another person from our Pen podcast in the river, but I can't make it fit intuitively. I can't make it fit any other scenario. Like I really wanted it to be Davis, like this asshole had something to do with it, and maybe there'll be some evidence, because as far as we know, he's still alive, right? He's 71 years old, supposedly living in Oklahoma. And if I could pull anything out that would give Henry's family closure, I would absolutely. But there's just no there. I can't get my hands on it. I can't get my intuition to go that route. So I kept imagining, okay, so if I'm Davis and I want to do away with this witness, but he had a solid alibi. He was out of state at the time, right? So I'm sending thugs to the house to kidnap him, throw him in a trunk, drive him to Flint, murder him. Could that scenario have happened? It absolutely could have happened. It 100% could have happened. It's just not there in the ether. That scenario is just not there. So we were talking about this, about how violence has a particular kind of malice. Violence has a particular kind of energy. It's, for lack of a better word, it's loud. Like you bump into it, you can't miss it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and atmospheres can absorb that. So if something violent happened in a house, if you are a little bit, sensitive, if you're a little bit sensitive to that kind of thing, you walk into the house and you're like, God, there's something, I just don't like this room. Okay. Doesn't mean it's haunted. It just means that it has absorbed that energy of that violence. So violence is not murder. That's why I think, I think that our podcasts are so, I don't want to say fun, but they're so fascinating to me because I can read the energy, right? So I get to read this, I hear the story, but I get to read the energy. It's almost like there's a subtext that I get to kind of decipher. So it's a mystery and a mystery to me. And I just could not find violence surrounding the day he disappeared coming from another individual. So it's my theory that he meant to disappear. And we were talking about the note, right? That there was no note left. So no way to point the family, right? That he had passed. I think that was intentional. First of all, before I got on antidepressants, I contemplated suicide quite often, a lot. And at no point when I was really seriously thinking, okay, this is it, I don't want to do this anymore, did I ever think, leave a note? Just didn't occur to me. Because there isn't anything you can say in a note that's going to satisfy someone being upset at your loss, right? You're just not going to be able to explain it. So when you have depression that deep and that difficult, it truly is. It's like an undertow is taking you away from shore. And you can see all these people playing on the shore and they're having a good time and you want nothing more than to join them. But the undertow is just too strong and it keeps taking you away from the beach and you're exhausted. That's what depression feels like. So, and if what I'm saying describes how you're feeling, please, 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 please see your primary care physician, see a therapist, see anybody who can talk to you about antidepressants and other therapies that might help you. Please do, because 100% saved my life, 100%. So did not change my personality, actually probably made me a little bit nicer. So, anybody out there who's suffering, please, please, please seek medical assistance, because it's just a horrible way to live. It's a horrible thing to live with. So that is my theory. My theory is that he went down into that rabbit hole, couldn't think of a way to tell his family, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, that would explain it in a way that would satisfy them. So he didn't. And I think he might have even thought, if they never know what happened to me, then they might think that I'm still alive and not be as devastated, if they were to find out that I took my own life. That was my thinking. So sadly, that's what I think.
I mean, it makes tremendous sense given the head injury, given how he was backed into a corner, and at that young of an age, you don't have the forethought to think about logical ways, adult ways to get out of situations when you feel that trapped. So it makes great sense. I will admit, when I was writing up the case, that I was pretty convinced that Davis had something to do with Henry's demise. And so in some respects, while I'm really sad that he chose to end his life, I understand. And I guess there's relief that there wasn't any violence that ended up following him to death.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd endured what he endured and it was awful.
For sure. But at least he wasn't terrorized, from my thinking, if I'm correct. We don't know if I'm correct. This is my, intuitive insight, truly. But to my intuitive mind, there was no terror. I just keep hitting a note of peace. I know that sounds terrible, that you're taking your life and you hit that note of peace. But if you're going to go that route, that's kind of what you want to do. So that's what I keep hitting whenever I think of his last moments. There's that peaceful note that I keep bumping into. So that's why I think he took his own life. That's what I think. And my heart really goes out to his family. I would love nothing more than for them to discover what happened to him. But I don't see how that's going to happen. It hasn't happened this was in 1973.
Yeah.
So 50 years.
50 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to happen, but that's my theory. And his family, I guess, the entire family will find out once they cross too, right? They'll find out what happened. So sad. Sad, poor Henry. He said, we didn't do a slideshow because there really isn't a lot to show from him. There's like 2 or 3 pictures of him. My favorite is him in the marching band. He looks like he's just such, in such command. And MSU's marching band has been famous for decades. It's an amazing band. And when I went there in the 80s, it was like, you had to be really fucking good to get in the band. And I remember them practicing in a field near where my dorms were. And I was just like, wow, these guys are so impressive. So for Henry to lead that, he must have been an incredibly impressive man. So there is a photo of him if you want to go looking for him, where he is mid-stride, in all his glory. It's a beautiful photo, beautiful young man. And if you feel like sending him a prayer, go for it. I did. So okay.
Yes.
All right. So next week, I don't know if we decided what we're doing. Yes. I don't know. I know we talked about it a lot before we hopped on air, but I don't know.
I think we're going to focus on the yogurt shop murders, which is a crime that took place in Texas. So remains unsolved to this day. So
I've always wanted to dig into that case. That's a case that I've always wanted to look at intuitively. So I'm kind of really, I don't want to say excited because I'm not necessarily excited, but I am eagerly looking forward into hopefully providing even an inkling of insight into what might have happened to those. There's 4, right? 4 girls.
Yes. 4 young women.
Yeah. So. All right, we'll be taking a look at that next week. In the interim, guys, we're almost through Mercury retrograde. We have just a couple more days. You can make it. You can make it. Call me for encouragement, not Sandy. Yeah, just keep a low profile, and it's hard because the end of Mercury retrograde is Memorial Day weekend, right? So travel plans, just double check them. Okay. Double, triple check any travel plans you have. And we'll get through it. I'm doing a little traveling too. So just a little day here or there.
I am not. I'm hiding under my bed.
I've decided I'm this year's old. And have finally decided, gee, I think I'm going to take a day off here or there. Like, won't that be nice? So I'm doing it. Taking Memorial Day weekend off. So it should be nice.
All right, Levy. Well, enjoy your long weekend. And thank you for your insights on this case. And we look forward to connecting with everyone next week.
Yes, ma'am. You got it. Thanks for writing this up, honey. I'm so glad you presented this case to me. So I love you so much.
Love you too. All right. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.